Hey Emily, thanks for joining the One Question podcast. Firstly, would you like to introduce yourself and say what the biggest goal is you've achieved so far throughout your career? And also, the one question is, what's your advice for someone suffering from chronic fatigue syndrome and how can they manage it throughout their life?
Hi, Travis. First of all, thank you very much for having me. A little bit about myself. So, I'm an accredited exercise physiologist, and I'm currently working clinically treating people with orthostatic intolerance and chronic fatigue syndrome. These are actually two conditions that I have myself and I manage from day to day in my everyday life. Prior to working clinically, I did quite a few years in the AFL system where I worked as a strength and conditioning coach for the AFL umpires. And then I moved on to the Essendon Football Club where I worked as the high performance manager for the women's department and also a strength and conditioning coach for the men's department. In regards to my career achievements, so my best one would have to have been working at the Essendon Football Club where as the high performance manager for the women's department, I played a really big role in getting that inaugural women's team up and running. So it took a lot of work, and I was really proud of everything that I put into it, but I was even more proud of the effort the girls put in as well with their training. So we saw that they developed amazingly in just over the 2 years that I was working there, and it was just really great and really rewarding to see how far they came. Then, in regards to chronic fatigue syndrome and advice that I would give someone living with this syndrome, I would say look at how you're pacing your days. So, if you have, activities in your day that are higher energy, and this is going to look different for everyone, but we might be thinking of, work or school or exercise, then make sure we're breaking this up throughout the day. We want to make sure that we're having activities spread throughout the more challenging activities that are encouraging downtime. So you might do something that's a little bit more challenging to you and then have some downtime before doing something a little bit more challenging. This is going to look really different for everyone because we know that these conditions they're not the same. Just because we have that chronic fatigue label doesn't mean that we're going to be the same as somebody else with chronic fatigue. It is very variable between person, but it's about looking at how much energy certain activities might cost you, and then breaking them up throughout the day, like I said. And it might sound really challenging to be able to have that time for you. And I think even people without chronic fatigue syndrome might be surprised if they stop and reflected on, what easy or light activities they have within their day to have downtime. Because we're so used to, in this day and age, being go, go, go with the society that we grew up with. But by implementing these things into our life, it's not about doing less, it's actually about doing more because by having some rest time spaced throughout our day, it means in the long run we're actually going to have more energy and we're going to feel a lot better for that. So I hope that was helpful and gave you a little bit of insight into chronic fatigue syndrome and how to manage it. But again, Travis, thanks for having me. It's been really lovely to share a little bit about what I know.